Welcome to Lento English. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
One introduction. It was a morning in Washington, D.C. The sun was starting to rise, but the city felt different. Not a normal morning. Today was a very important day. The city was getting ready for two big things. One big thing was a military parade. The president of the country wanted this parade. Soldiers, tanks, and helicopters would be in the city. It was a show of the country's army power. The parade was also for the Army's 250th birthday, and it was the president's 79th birthday too. Many people in the city were excited to see the parade. They wanted to see the soldiers and the machines. But the second big thing was very different. Across the country, in all 50 states, people were planning protests. Big protests. People were not happy about the parade. They thought it cost too much money. They thought it was more for the president than for the country. Many groups organized these protests. Millions of people planned to join them. In Washington, D.C., many people were getting ready to protest near the parade route. The city was busy. Workers put down special covers on the streets to protect them from the heavy tanks. Security people were everywhere. People were coming into the city from other places. Some came for the parade and some came for the protests. The air felt tense. There was excitement for the parade, but there was also anger about the protests. The country felt divided. Like two different sides. This story is about this one day. It is about the parade and the protests. It is about the people who came to watch and the people who came to protest. It is about Washington, D.C. on this special, tense day. The day would show the country's strength, but it would also show its deep divisions. It was a day that many people would remember. A day when the country looked at itself and saw two different pictures at the same time. The parade was a picture of power. The protests were a picture of people's feelings and disagreements. 2. The president's plan. The president had a special idea. He wanted a very big military parade in Washington, D.C. This idea came to him after he visited another country. He went to France and saw a parade there. It was a grand event with many soldiers and military vehicles. The president liked it very much. He thought America should have a parade like that too. So, the plan for a big parade started. The president wanted to show the country's military power. Now the details of the parade are ready. It will be a large event. About 7,000 soldiers will march in the parade. They will walk down a long street in the city. There will also be many military machines. Big tanks will drive on the street. Other special vehicles, like Bradley fighting vehicles, will also be there. High in the sky, dozens of helicopters will fly over. It will be a big show of the military. The official reason for the parade is important. It is to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday. The Army is very old and has a long history. So the parade is a way to honor the soldiers and the Army's past. But the parade is also on a special day for the president. It is his 79th birthday too. Many people think the parade is also a celebration for him. He will watch the parade from a special place with other important people. The parade will happen in the evening. It is planned to start around 6:30 p.m. Before the parade, there will be a festival on the National Mall. People can go there in the morning. Workers put special metal plates on the street. This is to protect the road from the heavy tanks and vehicles. The president thinks the parade is a very good idea. He believes it shows the strength of the country. He feels it is important to celebrate the military and its weapons, like tanks and helicopters. He said the cost of the parade is small compared to how important it is. The plan is set for this big event. 3. A country with two views. Many people did not like the idea of the big military parade. They thought it was not a good use of time or money. Different groups decided to show they were unhappy and planned protests. These protests were not just in one city. They were planned across the whole country. People in all 50 states wanted to protest. One group was called No Kings. They said the parade was more for the president than for the country. They thought the president wanted to look strong, like a king, but they believed the power belongs to the people. They wanted to show that the people are important. Another group was called Women's March. This group also planned events to protest the parade. They thought the idea was strange and not normal for America. One person from the group said it felt unreal. Protest organizers expected many people to join. They thought millions of people might take part across the nation. They planned thousands of small events in different cities and towns. People would gather to show their feelings, holding signs and speaking out. The protests wanted to show a clear picture that the people's power is greater than one person's power. They wanted a clear difference between the parade and the people's voice. The groups worked together. They included people who want the country to be fair, groups for workers' rights, and groups with more liberal ideas. They planned their own events at the same time as the parade, calling this counter-programming. They wanted to change the story of the day from a military show to the people showing their power. The No Kings protests followed other recent protests about government rules for people coming to the country, so a feeling of protest was already present. The Women's March theme was Kick Out the Clowns, showing they thought the situation was silly or wrong. The people planning the protests were serious and worked hard to get people ready. They used the internet and meetings, telling people where and when to meet. They prepared for a very big day. The day of the parade would also be a day of many protests. It would show two different sides of the country, the official military show and the people showing disagreement. The difference was very clear. It showed that the country had different opinions. The protests were a way for people to use their voice and wanted the government to listen. They wanted to show they did not agree with the parade. They believed their actions were important and felt it was important to stand up for what they believed. The number of people expected to protest was much bigger than at the parade. This showed the scale of feeling against it. It was a big effort by many groups with the same goal, to show the parade was not supported by everyone. It was a big plan for a big day, planned carefully to be peaceful but strong. They wanted to send a clear message. Power is with the people, not one leader or a military show. This feeling was strong across the country. They waited for the day, ready to show their views. 4. People talk about the parade. Many people in the country talked a lot about the idea of the military parade. The discussion about the parade became very loud. People had different ideas about it. Some people thought the parade was a good thing. They said it was important to show the country's military power to the world. They believed it would make the country look strong. Also, some people thought the parade could help the army find new young people to join. They said seeing the soldiers and the equipment up close could make young Americans want to serve their country. One person who worked with the army said it was a chance for young people to talk to soldiers and understand what the army does. They felt this was good for the country. But many other people did not think the parade was a good idea. Their main worry was the cost. People asked how much money the parade would use. One leader from the army said the cost could be between $25 million and $40 million. These people said this was too much money. They argued that this money should be used for different things. They felt it was more important to help soldiers who had finished their service, called veterans. They said some programs that help veterans needed money. For example, a program that helped veterans keep their homes was cut. People said the money for the parade could help bring back these important programs for veterans. One group that helps veterans said the parade was not about the country's pride, but about one person's pride. Politicians from different political parties also shared their strong feelings about the parade. One politician from the president's party said he would not have a parade like this. He said America was different from countries that often have big military shows, like some other nations. He felt America should not be like that. Another politician from a different party strongly criticized the cost. He said the military had to spend time and money on the parade instead of using that time and money for training. He said the military should be preparing for the country's safety needs, not doing this event. He clearly stated that he thought the parade was a very bad idea. So the country was divided. People talked and argued about the parade, the cost, and what was truly important for the nation and its military. 5. A warning from the president. The president spoke about the people who planned to protest the parade. He did not like these protests at all. He said that the people who would protest hated the country. This was a very strong and harsh thing to say about citizens. He gave a clear warning to them. He said they would be met with very heavy force. This meant that there would be a lot of security present. Many police officers and special agents would be there to stop problems. Thousands of these security people were prepared for the day of the parade and protests. The president's words made the situation feel much more tense across the nation. People felt more worried about what might happen between the security forces and the large groups of protesters. This day was already happening at a difficult time for the country. The president had recently used the military in ways that were not usual. The main job of the military is to fight wars in other countries, far away. People usually think the military is not part of politics. They see it as serving the whole nation, no matter who is president. But the president had asked soldiers to do different things lately. For example, just before the parade day, he sent about 700 Marines to Los Angeles. This was to help deal with protests happening there. These protests were about the government's immigration rules and actions. Some leaders in California said using the military like this was making things worse, not better. They felt it was not the military's job to handle protests inside the country. Using the military in this way caused many people to worry. They asked if the military was getting too close to politics. They worried about using soldiers to control or manage people inside the country. The idea of the big military parade also seemed to mix the military and the president's politics in a way that worried some. Some people who did not like the parade said it was more for the president himself than for the army or the country. They worried this could damage the good name and respect for the military. They felt the military should stay separate from political events and leaders. Critics said that countries like Russia or North Korea often have big military parades to show power, but the United States usually did not. The last big one was many years ago, after a war victory. This made the planned parade feel different and caused more concern. The president's warning about heavy force showed how serious the disagreement was between him and the protesters. He seemed ready for a very strong response if protests happened near the parade. The planned protests were expected to be very big, maybe millions of people across the country and in Washington, D.C. The president's strong words against the protesters added to the anger and feeling of division in the nation. The use of soldiers in Los Angeles also made people think hard about the military's role at home. What should the military do? Should it be used inside the country for things like protests? Should it be part of political events or linked closely to one leader? These questions were important as the day of the parade got closer. The feeling of tension was growing stronger and stronger as the day arrived. 6. The morning of the big day. The day of the big parade arrived. It was a Saturday in Washington, D.C. The city was very busy. Many people were getting ready for the events. The streets were being prepared for the heavy vehicles. Workers put strong metal plates on the roads. This was to protect the ground from the weight of the tanks that would roll later. A special festival began on the National Mall. It started in the morning. Soldiers were there to meet people. They showed different things about the army. People could see military demonstrations. It was a chance for people to learn more about the soldiers. Slowly, crowds started to gather in the city. People wanted to see the parade. They stood along the street where the parade would go. They waited for the big show that would happen in the evening. At the same time, many other people were gathering. These were the protesters. They were not happy about the parade. They came together in large numbers. They planned to show their feelings. Protests were happening not only in Washington but also in cities across the whole country. There were many events planned by groups who did not support the parade. The weather forecast for the day was not clear. There was a chance it could rain later. But the people in charge said the parade would happen anyway. They said it would go on even if it rained or if the sun shined. Everyone knew it would be a long day with much happening. The morning was just the start of a day that would show many different things about the country. 7. 2 big events in one city. The day turned into evening. The time was about 6:30. The main event, the military parade, was about to begin. People stood along Constitution Avenue. There were hundreds of thousands of them. They waited with excitement to see the soldiers and the big machines of the army. Then it started. Large tanks, very heavy and powerful, began to move down the street. Special metal plates were put on the road earlier to protect the ground from their weight. Thousands of soldiers marched in long lines. Their uniforms were clean and neat. They walked with strong steps. Above them, many helicopters flew in formation. The sound was loud and strong. It was a powerful show of the Army's strength and history. The Army was celebrating its 250th birthday this day. The President watched everything from a special stand. This stand was built south of the White House, a place where important people could see the parade well. Other leaders and guests were with the President. He saw the tanks roll by and the soldiers march. Later in the evening, after the main part of the parade had passed, the President gave a speech. He spoke to the people watching. He talked about the Army's long and important history and about the strength of the country. But this parade was only one part of the story of this day. At the very same time, other big events were happening. Across Washington, D.C., not far from the parade route, people were gathering to protest. They were not there to celebrate the parade. They were there to show their unhappiness and their different ideas. These protests were not only in the capital city. They were happening in every state across the nation. In all 50 states, people were organizing and joining demonstrations. Millions of people took part in these protests. They came together in parks and streets to share their opinions and make their voices heard. They carried signs with many different messages. They walked and chanted slogans. They wanted to show that the power of the country is with the people, not just with one person or one part of the government. The weather was uncertain during the day. People had worried about rain, but the parade went on as planned. It happened rain or shine. Earlier in the day, there was a festival on the National Mall. Later in the evening, after the parade finished, there were more events like music and fireworks. So this single day in one city, Washington, D.C., became a picture of two very different parts of America. On one street, a big military parade showed the strength and power of the nation's army. On other streets, both in Washington and in cities far away, large protests showed the feelings, ideas, and power of the people. It was a day with two big events happening at the same time, side by side. It showed a country that was both celebrating its military strength and questioning its leaders and direction. It was a clear image of two different Americas living side by side on the same day in the same country. 8. A lesson for the future. The long day finally finished. The sun went down over the city. The streets were quiet again after the big events. People went home thinking about what they saw and heard. There were two very different things that happened on this day. One was the military parade, the other was the many protests. Many people thought about the parade. Was it really to celebrate the military, or was it more for the president? This was a big question. The parade showed the power of the country's army. There were many soldiers, there were big machines like tanks. Airplanes flew in the sky, it looked very strong. But the protests showed a different kind of power. This was the power of the people. Millions of people went to the streets in many cities. They had different reasons to protest. But they all wanted to show their opinions. They wanted their voices to be heard. They showed that people's ideas are also very strong in the country. The day showed the country was divided. Some people liked the parade very much. They felt proud of the military. They liked seeing the president. Other people did not like the parade. They thought it cost too much money. They thought it was not right for the president to use the military like this. The military is an important part of the country. It protects the country and its people. It should be for everyone, not for one person or one political group. This day made many people think about this important idea. It showed the line between the military and politics. It is important for this line to be clear. The events of this day gave a lesson for the future. They showed that the country has different ideas and different strengths. The military is strong, but the voice of the people is also very strong. People will remember this day and think about what it means for the country and its future.